Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Travis Bull Johnson, your candidate for Minnesota's 7th District. Uh, Welcome to Independence is Power, Episode 10. It's been a little while since we've been back in the studio, so I'm really excited to actually be being here today. Uh, got our producer working with us today, and which is great because the last couple shows I've had to do on my own, and you know what? That's a job he can keep. A couple things we're going to talk about today. We're going to give you an update on the campaign. Then we're going to go a little bit in. We're going to talk about some property rights. Property rights is probably one of my most passionate platforms I'm about. But we'll go a little bit more into that. As far as our campaign update, hey, the campaign's been going well. We're picking up steam. We're getting under people's skins. Which I'll give you a little bit of a story about something that happened a few weeks ago. As most of you know, I went to the SD1 GOP convention to just to observe, see what was going on, and I ended up getting asked to leave. They asked me to leave because I was not a guest of a candidate. Because they asked me, "Hey, who are you a guest of?" And I gave them a friend of mine's name, and said, "Well, you can't stay. You have to be a guest of a candidate to stay." It's like, okay, whatever. We ended up leaving. Well, then this past week, I get a phone call from somebody saying, "Hey, we were told that you were a guest of such and such, who's a candidate," and they were basically trying to take actions against that person's family because basically they didn't feel that they were supporting the GOP enough if they were going to be supporting me. Which, I mean, they're people I know, they're friends, but they don't support my candidacy. Yet people went out there and lied and said they invited me to that convention in order to exclude them from the convention. They were trying to unseat them as delegates, when the whole reason they threw me out of the convention was because I wasn't a guest of a candidate. And then they try to twist it and saying I was a guest of the candidate so they can remove this person. That the fact that they're getting to these kind of, and these are people who are actual leaders within the party, within the Northwestern area, and they know better. I mean, it frustrates me because these are people. These are, I'll say, these are people who call themselves good Christian women, and then they're going to turn around and lie about something like this. It shows a lot of hypocrisy, and that kind of hypocrisy has just so much filled our political parties, and it's going to keep on that way until we force them to stop. Our fundraising over the first 2 weeks of the month of the quarter went great, and then I commented on how great it was going, and it died. I should know better. We need to fix that. We need to fix that this month because May is our big month. May is probably the most important month we're going to have in this campaign until the end. Reason being is May becomes our signature time period. May is the time period where I'm going to have to travel all over this district getting signatures on why I should be on the ballot. And they won't let me on the ballot unless we get these 1,000 signatures. Now, we have a couple things we're doing to make this happen. We're looking at having a major event in Thief River Falls, which will be a concert type event, and we want to bring people to us to get the signatures. We've also been invited to a bike show in Alexandria the weekend of the 21st through the 22nd, which we're really looking forward to. I'll pull up that information real quick. And that's the Freedom First Riders bike show is going to be in Alexandria the 21st and the 22nd. So if you're in that area, we very much would like to see you come to our table, see us, sign our petition, help get us on the ballot. But the thing is, all these things are going to cost money. I mean, we just don't have the funds to just snap our fingers and make it happen. So if we're going to make this happen, we need your help. We need your financial support to help push this campaign, especially through May. So I will ask you, and I'll ask you again before the end of the show, to please go to our website, bulljohnsonforcongress.us, donate to our campaign if you can. All right, so let's go on now a little bit more to property rights. I'm going to read from you from the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution, and that reads, "Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation." Problem is, it's happening, and it's being allowed to happen, and it's endorsed to happen by the government. We need to do something about that. We need to stop it. I mean, how? And we need to finally define what is public use. It has gotten to a point now where public use has gotten expanded so much for things that aren't for public use. If you've got an old building and the government thinks a new building there will increase property value, increase tax revenue, guess what? They could say it's in public use, it's in the public interest to destroy that building, sell it to somebody, a developer who would make it into a shopping mall, and they do it all the time. Which benefits the corporations and the businesses much more than the general public. Some people are going to hate me saying this, but that includes pipelines. Land is taken constantly for use for pipelines under this clause, and the big winners are the oil companies, are the companies that are paid to transport this oil, not the public. I mean, from my mind, the public use, I mean, that's meant for like stuff like roads, infrastructure, bridges, which I know a bunch of my libertarian friends will hate me saying this, but the Constitution does give the building of roads to the government through the Constitution. Granted, it's supposed to be for postal use, but if you look at the Constitution, that is actually delegated to the federal government. So that's one way it's being used. But again, they do have the right to take it for public use with just compensation. Problem is, what is just compensation? Is just compensation what you'd be willing to just sell it for? Is just compensation what the market value is? Does just compensation take into account what that land means to you? Is that land in your family for generations? What is just compensation for taking that? Problem is, they're the government who benefits from keeping that number low. They're the ones who decide, and that's not very fair. I mean, it's not very equitable, and it's one of those things we have to fight. And at the very least, we have to specify what public use is, and that's one of my things on my platform. Is one of the laws I want to pass when I get in there is to very tightly define what is public use, and to emphasize on there, public use is not to aid in the creation or enhancement of corporations or businesses. That wasn't the purpose. But we see it all the time. I mean, you have and I'm trying to think where it was that Spike was doing these rallies a while back. You had a home with disabled people in it that the city was basically condemning because they wanted to use it for a city structure. Maybe this is where these people were living. This was their home. And if I remember, it was for a parking lot to support some of the other buildings they wanted to build. Is that right? That's not right. I mean, as Americans, how do we let that happen? And the other issue I want to talk about is civil asset forfeiture. Civil asset forfeiture, for those who don't know, allows the government to take money that they suspect is or property that they suspect is being used for illicit purposes. And where this started getting pushed out to begin with was trying to take funds from drug dealers for the cartels and so forth. Problem is, it's illegal. It's unconstitutional. Look what we just read about when the government is allowed to take private property. They have to give back just compensation. They don't do that when you have civil forfeiture. These people have not been committed as a crime. Many of them are never even actually charged. But the burden of proof to show that it was not used in a crime falls to them, and that costs money. We are to the point today where police, cities, so forth, include the money that they're going to get back from civil forfeiture in their budgets. They count on bringing this money in order to pay their employees. I mean, so they have money, they have skin in the game to take this. And again, they don't even have to process. They don't even have to process charges. They don't even have to. I mean, so you're basically taking this from people without due process and making them have to spend money to get their own funds, their own property back. I mean, that's just theft by the government. I mean, even more so than our taxes are. So we really do need to get on here and put our foot down. I mean, one of the one of those things I'm going to push is to repeal civil asset forfeiture laws. They're unconstitutional. Why they're being allowed, I still don't know. I mean, so if you've earned something, if you've earned the money or whatever to buy property, to buy something for yourself, there should be no instance where the government can take it without due process or just compensation. And just compensation, if it was just compensation, they would offer you an amount that you're willing to sell it for. Not something that they will take it from you and say, this is what we're giving you. I mean, to me, that's fundamentally wrong. I mean, that's fundamentally against where our Constitution stands for. And we need to fight these things. We need to start making these priorities, because it's never a priority until it happens to you. And these issues, when we start talking about eminent domain, especially again when we're coming to pipelines and stuff like that, that doesn't just deal with individuals. I mean, that deals with the Indian nations. I mean, that's a prime example of where they violate treaties for the good of the government, and that's where I have a lot of issues. I mean, when you're doing a pipeline and you're going right through Kansas and Nebraska farmland to do it, and if there is a leak in that area, I mean, what happens to those farmers' crops? What happens to everything in that area? I mean, the farmers need to have a right to say yes or no. And under eminent domain, they don't. If you don't want to do it, they take it. I mean, granted, the land still belongs to the farmers, but they are basically saying, we are going to use your land for what we want, and this is what we're giving, whether you like it or not. And that's just not right. And those are the kind of things we need to fight. That's what we need to push against. We need to make a priority. I mean, and that is one of my, and y'all may be able to hear it in my voice. This is something I'm very, very passionate about. I firmly believe in it, just because I just don't think it's fair if you work your entire life for something like a house and property that the government can then come back and decide, well, it's better for the community if there's a shopping mall there, and take it from you. I mean, that's for the benefit of a private company or corporation. I mean, in the case of some of these pipelines with Keystone, it's not even benefiting American corporations. This is to move Canadian oil to refineries that would then move it to a foreign country to be sold. So it's not even like we're saying this is something for us. So it is definitely something that we need to address. As Jerry Tubrora just weighed in, public use and public good are different things, and I agree. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why I think we need to go ahead. We need to put our foot down, and we need to specify in writing, in law, this is public use. Period. And codify that into law where there is no misunderstanding, because it's already in the Constitution. if you say you believe in property rights and you vote against this, are you really for property rights? Uh, and I think at that point you'll start to see what the difference is between the wheat and the chaff when it comes down to, do we support Americans or do we support corporations? And I think most of you already know the answers to most of what we have in the swamp, what they really represent, or what they really who they really represent. But as people, we have to put our foot down. We have to say this is not right. This is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democrat issue. This is an American people issue. And we need to, if it's something we believe in, we have to be willing to fight for it. And I am definitely willing to get in there and fight for that. Meanwhile, we'll open it up, see if anybody has any questions for us, and we'll go with it from there. And looking over our comments now. Good to see you, Nick. Hope everything is going well. Brian Scott Lambert has weighed in for us, and for those of you who don't know Brian, he's pretty much Spike Cohen's right hand man. And I agree, man. We're gonna look at those festivals and outdoor concerts and everything we can to get out there when it comes down for our petitioning. We are relatively lucky in the fact that our petition numbers are not outlandish. It's 1,000 signatures, and we have 2 weeks to do it. It is around the Memorial Day weekend, which does add a little bit more challenge. I mean, we're gonna have a lot in my area. We've got Maple Lake, so we're gonna have a lot of people in the area coming here for the long weekend. The problem is how many of them are gonna actually be residents of this district. So we're gonna have to sort through that. But and a lot of that's where the rubber's going to meet the road. So what I'm going to ask of you is we've already asked for your financial support earlier. Even harder than financial support is actual boots on ground support, and we're going to ask for that right now as well. If you're willing to help us get these signatures, let me know. We'll send you the petition. We've got those 2 weeks to get them, and then we'll come out there and we'll pick them up as soon as we can. And then I've got to actually turn them in to the Secretary of State's office. Now, as I said, we need 1,000 signatures. But in reality, we need 2,000 because the GOP and the Democrats are going to have people there fighting to keep us off the ballot. Again, because we are a challenge to their power system. We are, and more towards the GOP than the Democrats, and I'll cover that again in a few minutes. But so they are. I mean, I've talked to one of the GOP lawyers in the state, and she is a firm believer that a third party or independent candidate is a threat to the nation, because no other country has ever made a multi-party system work. Of course, I asked her if she'd ever heard of Europe, but she just gave me this blank stare. But that tells you their belief in how hard they're going to go to try to get our signatures thrown out. There are candidates who in different parts of the country that require, if they're going to be on a statewide ballot, they get X amount from every county. And there's a senatorial candidate that was basically just eliminated because 4 or 5 people in one county didn't date the form. Well, the law says it has to be signed and dated, so they threw out those 4 signatures, bringing her under the 100 that's required per each county to disqualify her from the race. Those are the games and the tricks they're going to play to upset the will of the people. So yeah, we are going to try our best to get so many signatures on there that they're going to look at this and go, okay, yeah, no, we're not even going to try this because there's no way we're going to be able to eliminate enough to get this thrown out. Not only that, but it sends a signal. The more signatures we get, you're also going to have your GOP primaries, and as a whole, the primaries aren't the most attended election. And for the and for this race, I mean, right now, again, we still don't have. On the Democratic side, they have no candidate, so they're not even going to be probably having a primary. And then on the Republican side, I mean, there's currently 2 candidates running, but it's not expected to be a real competitive race. So I don't know how many people are going to vote on that primary. it would really be something if we gather enough signatures to get more signatures and they have vote for the primary for a Republican or a Democratic candidate. Again, it shows that we're real. It shows that we're here, and it shows that we're here to stay, and it shows that you're pissed off. It shows that you're willing to put that effort in. These guys don't count on you being willing to put the work in. They count on me not being willing to put the work in. But I am, and I believe you are as well. Hey, good to see you too, Dominic. Glad you were able to make it. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on with us, what's going on with the campaign. So again, if you're willing to help with the petition drive, shoot me a message. Let me know. We'll get you the form, and I do believe we do have to have original signatures. So this is something we're going to have to either time enough to get in the mail or get out to you to pick it up. If you can't, I mean, or something else I'd like y'all to do. If you're in an area where you would like me to come down and speak and do a meet and greet in your county or whatever, let's do that. At the same time, collect signatures while they're there. Just get with me, find out what my schedule is. My plan is for those 2 weeks, my wife will probably barely see me. I probably won't be home very much because we're going to be out there circulating through the district, all 42,000 miles of it. And we're going to be collecting signatures. And again, I want people to be able to see me and meet me in person. So if you're willing to help by setting up a meet and greet, I mean, even if it's just at a coffee shop for coffee on a morning, please let me know. We'll work through the schedule. And I'm hoping that we can have the schedule worked out within the next 7 days so I can plan. But again, our period for collecting signatures is the 17th through the 30th. Please, I mean, if you can financially support this campaign, that'd be great. Travis Bull Johnson for Congress.us. Come visit us. Make sure your family and your friends are following our page. We're up to 3,300 follows right now, which for a non major party candidate in a rural district, that's pretty good. I mean, that's for considering this is our first major election, that people have been told me, it's like, you're where? How? I mean, so, and how is you guys, you're sharing, you're spreading the word. Please keep doing it. When you share when you share our post, don't just click share now. Share, put a little comment on there. Hey, check this guy out. Follow him. I mean, help us make a difference. That is your endorsement of me. Your endorsement of me is just as important as any endorsement by a celebrity or anything like that. Okay. Which, by the way, we are getting some of those endorsements in. We have been told we have the endorsement of Jesse Ventura. We're waiting on the formal paper endorsement now. I believe I told you before, we've got Mark Lindquist's endorsement. He was the Democrat who was running against me. One of his messages he wanted me to put out is say, hey, tell people the reason I'm in Ukraine is because I felt safe leaving the race and the campaign to you. The reason he was running, he feels that I am going to be able to do that so he doesn't have to. And I really appreciate that support from Mark. We are talking to a couple other parties within the state for their endorsement. Which brings me to finish up with this last news for you, that whether you may or may not know, but in Utah, the Senate race in Utah, you have the Republican Mike Lee, and there's an independent running against him, and I'm not sure of his name right now. But the Democratic Party has basically come back and says we are not going to nominate a candidate, and instead, them, as well as a lot of other minor parties, are throwing their endorsement behind this challenger to Mike Lee. This is the first time I have heard of the Democratic Party basically taking a knee, saying, we're going to sit this one out. And it leaves hope that they're going to do the same thing here. Stay out of this race. Make this a heads up race between me and Michelle, because I don't think that's what they want. They don't want head to head. And we all know it. We all know why. As long as there's somebody for them to, there's a boogeyman for them to go against, and that's what the opposite party usually is. They've got that weapon in their chest. If they go head to head with me, they don't want to have to be in a situation where they could just scare people, where they have to actually sit across from me in a debate and explain why their ideas are better than mine. It's a lot easier to say, you can't vote for this because you can't vote for this other guy because that would mean this people we really don't want would win. It's time for us to change the rules. The two parties shouldn't be the ones making the rules. I mean, they said it so only they can win. And if we have to change the rules of the game, we will, and we're capable of doing it to make it a fair race, to give you your vote and your choice, and to give you a choice. Thank you very much for joining me. Remember, independent is power. This is Travis Bull Johnson, your candidate for Minnesota's 7th Congressional District, signing off. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. Bye.